My very first photo shoot was the most awkward experience in my life.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to do something a little bit different for this video. I came out to LA because one of the masters of posing and confidence on camera is my buddy Parker. He's a fellow fashion blogger. We've been friends for a long time. I love all his content. Check him out at Parker York Smith. A lot of you may know me personally as, I've been featured in GQ. I've built a significant brand on Instagram. I've modeled for a lot of different clothing brands. I've walked runways, but it wasn't always like that. In fact, my very first photo shoot was the most awkward experience in my life. Like, I didn't know what to do with my hands.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
It'd be good just to hold them down by your side, yeah.
I didn't know where to look. I didn't understand angles or lighting. I think I even was like sweating and like sweat was like peeking through my shirt. So like I have been in that position where it's incredibly awkward.
And yeah, I mean, same for me, because just as with anything in life, posing is something that is a learned skill. It's a muscle that you have to practice and flex to gain strength. So I remember my very first shoot was very similar. It was super awkward. I had no idea what to do. Thankfully, it was with a really great photographer, which we will talk about later, and they were able to kind of guide me and actually turn out something halfway decent. But it's not something that's just gonna naturally come to you. So if it's something that right now you're not great at, that's completely fine.
As I've practiced and practiced and practiced posing over the years, done hundreds, if not thousands of photo shoots, I've kind of come up with like 5 things that can really help you, even if you're an amateur, to take your posing and confidence to the next level. Tip number 1, every time you hear the shutter click on the camera, to change something. You don't want 100 shots of you doing the exact same thing. You need variation. Shutter click number 1, like look this way. And it can be very subtle, it doesn't have to be
Super
huge.
small moves are totally fine. Like you said, just the tiniest little movement of your face, or change your body posture a little bit, or put your hand in your pocket for this shot and then take it out for the next shot. Just always be moving, trying new things. Because honestly, until you get more experienced, you're not gonna have any idea what looks good in camera, because what looks good to the photographer may be completely different from what looks good in real life.
And if you have an experienced photographer, or even not an experienced photographer, simply just having them snap and over and over and over again, and having you just move here, then look down, then look up, then look right, then look left. These are all things that you may feel awkward doing it, but it's not going to look awkward on camera.
Tip number 2, we kind of alluded to already, but you definitely want to make sure that you have a great chemistry with your photographer. Making sure that they are able to guide you and help you. You don't want to have it be awkward, because it's going to translate in the photos. You're going to be able to tell that you were self-conscious about what they were thinking of you, or if you were doing the right thing.
I think one of the most awkward experiences I had was I shot with a brand new photographer that I have never met in my life. I found them on Instagram and I needed content, so I was like, hey, would you like to, do a test shoot and see how things go? And they were silent. I mean, granted, I already had some modeling experience, so I kind of knew what to do, but if there was just that one level up of chemistry, that photographer could have brought out more laughs. They could have brought out different emotions.
Yes.
And one of the best things you can actually do is like shoot with a friend or another influencer that you're collaborating with. Once you guys have a relationship established, you might have some inside jokes. You'll learn each other's sense of humor. Having that chemistry really brings out the candid shots. Another thing to add to that is some of the best shots I've gotten were when I'm just walking with whoever I'm collaborating with, and we crack a joke or we say something funny, and then I'll start laughing, and then he'll just pull up his camera and go snap, 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 snap.
Snap, 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 snap.
And it's the most authentic shot.
One more thing with that is there's going to be bad shots. So don't be self-conscious because there's a couple of ones where your face was awkward or you were in the middle of moving and they caught a shot. Don't let that get into your head and make you feel like you're not doing a good job, because that happens to everybody. It's not a bad thing that every single exposure isn't perfect.
Okay, so tip number 3 is to utilize your accessories or whatever you're wearing in order to give your hands something to do. One of the biggest mistakes I see, and I made this too when I first started, was not knowing what to do with my hands. Do I put them in my pockets? Do I keep it here? Yeah, so this is one thing I like to do. If you go to my Instagram page, you can see me doing this all the time, is I'm flipping my coat jacket. Like I literally will stand there and just flip my jacket over and over again while the photographer snaps pictures. And it comes out really cool because it looks like you're mid-step and you're like throwing your coat on, utilizing everything that you're wearing or carrying just to give your hands something to do will go a long way in looking authentic and not too posed.
Tip number 4, something that you've probably heard before, you've got to know your angles. It is hugely important to understand that different faces, different body types, different people look better photographed positioned differently. So 45 degrees turned a little bit is going to look much better than straight on. Like I always joke that when you're straight onto the camera, sometimes you just look like you're a thumb with a face on it because it's just straight up and down. Whereas giving yourself a little bit more dimension, and that's just going to make your face look that much more attractive, that much more interesting.
Piggybacking off of point number 1 of just changing something every time the camera shutter clicks, you'll start to see which angles are your good angles. For example, if you look really closely, it may be hard to see on camera, I actually have like lopsided eyes, right? So it's like just slightly angular, it's not straight. So when I turn this way, this is actually my bad side because my eyes like a little, I know I'm nitpicking myself, I'm my own worst critic, whatever.
We all are.
We all, yeah. So I tend to turn my head this way. I just found out that it photographs better. That just came from simply practicing posing and practicing different angles. Once you do learn your good angles, it's something that you can lean into consistently. Tip number 5, which is to do a real life action that you would normally do if the photographer wasn't there. So the goal of every photo shoot is not to make it look like a photo shoot, right? You want it to make it look like the photographer was hiding out somewhere and just happened to catch you walking about your day. This will look so much more natural and authentic than just standing there posing, smiling with your hands in your pocket. Unless you're going for like a professional headshot, then sure, like you can do that. But if you're going for that lifestyle, candid, confident, you know, man about town look, then that's what you need to be doing.
It's pretty simple, you know, it's always just more interesting to your audience. It looks more dynamic, just a lot more fun to create photos that look like a slice of life.
And I think that just translates better on camera. Yeah, final thoughts are just to be yourself, you know, not even think about the camera, because the goal is to showcase your authentic self. That's what people are going to relate with. That's what's going to build authenticity with your brand, with your personal brand, and with your audience. And have fun doing it, because if you're not having fun, what's the point?
So one thing that we realized while we were out here shooting this is that we get a lot of questions from people asking how they can be more comfortable shooting out in public, because it can be a little weird. People might heckle you. You're just gonna feel a little bit awkward getting your picture taken in front of the public. At the end of the day, we both agreed that it's a muscle. You gotta flex it. It's gonna get more comfortable after a while. And
well, I think the big thing that I was saying is, if you're not comfortable doing it, it is something you can get more comfortable with as you go. But if it's one of those things where you don't like the spotlight, building a personal brand might not be the right career path for you. Because if you're trying to grow a personal brand, whether that be on YouTube or on Instagram, yeah, you're gonna be the person either having the selfie camera or with photographers following you or somebody filming all the time. There's just going to be that attention-seeking kind of magnet, and people are always going to look. Those little brush ups with the anxiety you might have with it, you'll start to build an immunity to it and you won't care after a while. Now I could care less, because at the end of the day, they might look, but they have a life to live.
right. And you're gonna get an amazing piece of content. Be focused on that. Don't be worried about what everybody else thinks.
I feel like we're beating a dead horse here now. You get it.
You get it. We're done.